Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week of history. Today, we are going to talk about the Song Dynasty. This is going to be the third lesson in our post-classical China unit. Now, again, this is the teaching plan. So, for the brief timeline of post-classical China, today we are going to be covering the segment between 960 and 1279 AD, or the Song Dynasty. Before this was the Five Dynasties and Ten Kingdoms period, which we went over during the last lesson. And after this will be the Mongol conquest and the ensuing Yuan dynasty. So a recap for the intro to Song dynasty. The Song dynasty ruled China from 960 to 1279. It was one of the most brilliant cultural periods of the country and is commonly divided into the northern and southern Song dynasties. The founder of the northern Song dynasty was a military commander in the last of the five dynasties. He gained control of the empire in a coup in 960. In 1200, the Song dynasty ruled over large parts of China. They drew up much older cultural and political traditions. And culturally, the Song was a golden age of arts and literature. It set standards of excellence in poetry, landscape painting, and ceramics. So the culture of the Song dynasty. During the Song period, commerce developed significantly. Trade guilds were organized and paper currency came into increasing use. And several cities with populations of more than 1 million flourished along the principal waterways and the southeast coast. Widespread printing of the Confucian classics and the use of the move-type printer, which was invented earlier, beginning in the 11th century, brought literature and learning to the people. And flourishing private academies and state schools were abundant during this period of time. The administration developed a comprehensive welfare policy that made this one of the most humane periods in Chinese history.
All right, so we're going to continue to talk about the culture of Song Dynasty. So the Song Dynasty encouraged great artistic achievements at its capital of Bianjing, which is now called Kaifeng. The Northern Song Dynasty had begun a renewal of Buddhism, um, and of literature and the arts. The greatest poets and painters in the empire were in attendance at court. The capital was a city of beauty, with many palaces, temples, and pagodas. Some architectures were known for being tall, with the line of roofs curved upward at the corners. It's also known as Chinese cornice, feiyan. Six or eight-sided pagodas built of brick or wood still survive from the period. Um, the literature of the Song dynasty emphasized simplicity. Numerous short tales called Guwen was written. A school of oral storytelling used native dialect arose. Conventional poetry enjoyed wide circulation. Song poets developed a new genre of the 词, sung poems of joy or despair. So this is so 词 is usually in the form of a song, or there may be sung, which is different from the previous genre, which are like more of reciting or reading out loud. And these poems became the literary hallmark of the dynasty. On top of its literary and architectural achievements, the Song dynasty also made developments in sculpting and music. A Buddhist painted, so first it's a Buddhist painted wood sculpture from China, dates to about 1025 during the Northern Song dynasty. So speaking of Buddhists, it's actually imported from India in the Han Dynasty, as we talked before, and then um, in many centuries after Han Dynasty, the Buddhism kind of like adopted its own style in China. Um, and then the second one is a Chinese porcelain wine jar uh, and covered with a southern glaze dates to the 12th century during the Song Dynasty. And the third one is a coin, 惠宗which is published by Huizong, the last emperor of the Northern Song Dynasty, designed this bronze token coins is designed um, in 1107. Uh, and the last one is a tea bowl with an oil spot effect, which is from the Southern Song Dynasty. Wait, so about the Southern and Northern Song Dynasty, I think we discussed it before. Um, I think we discussed it before uh, the because the invasion of the other ethnic groups or the dynasty or the dynasty ruled by the other ethnic groups, the Northern Song was lost some of its land and became a famous shame in Chinese history. And then the shrunk Northern Song dynasty was then called Southern Song Dynasty because the the capital of Song was moved to another place. What the I mean the Song Dynasty was more concentrated in the south. Then we're gonna talk about the interactions between Song China and its neighbors. So first, Korea. Korea is immediately adjacent to northeastern China under a series of ruling dynasties, including the unified Silla, Koryo, and Joseon. Um, Korea maintained its political independence while participating in tributary relations with China. Korean missions brought tributes to China, and the Chinese emperors gave gifts to the missions. Chinese culture had an influence on Korean political and cultural life in many ways. For example, efforts to plant Confucian values in Korea. So actually, um, about Korea, it was one of the four big one of the four land of like land not to conquer defined by the Ming Dynasty's emperor. It was so why was this? What was Korea? What did Korea maintain a tributary relationship with China? The reason was that like the northeastern of China has been like the guard there was the defense there was weak and it was relatively poor compared to the southern China. So like they don't have enough defense to conquer Korea. Korea became one of the four places not to conquer. Um, and then it's also remarkable that most diplomatic interactions between Asian China, with other countries are mainly tributary instead of directly invasion. Um, and then we'll continue to Vietnam. The heartland of Vietnam was fully incorporated into China for more than 1,000 years, from 111 BC to 939 AD. In 938, Vietnamese forces defeated the Chinese, ending direct Chinese rule. However, even in 1200, Vietnamese rulers maintained Vietnam's tributary relationship with China. Chinese culture had a significant impact on the Vietnamese elites. However, the rest of Vietnam had a uniquely Vietnamese culture, and the Chinese culture did a significant impact on Vietnamese elites. This can be shown um, because this was significant because the Vietnamese kept the Chinese character, kept using Chinese character until the recent less than one century ago, and it was then changed turned to the English letters, or Roman letters, well, whatever. So we can continue. Uh, then we're gonna talk about Japan. So the Japanese islands were physically separated from China, and were never successfully invaded by China. Their involvement with the Chinese civilization was wholly voluntary, rather than under direct military threat. Many elements of the Chinese culture, along with several schools of Chinese Buddhism, took root in Japanese society. However, the absence of threats from China made it possible for the Japanese to be selective in their borrowing of Chinese culture, and by the 10th century, efforts to absorb additional elements of the Chinese culture diminished and tributary missions to China stopped.
Okay, here's the fall of the song. So Genghis Khan, born Temujin, was the leader of the Mongol tribes in the steppes of Mongolia, who rose to prominence in 1206. The Mongols invaded the nearby Jin state and reduced it to a mere buffer state between the Song and themselves. Soon enough, the Song dynasty, looking to gain some territory, and the Mongols, now without Genghis, besieged Bianjian, an important city of the Jin. The Jin emperor committed suicide, but it was far from over. Kublai Khan, grandson of the great Genghis Khan, turned on his Song allies and conquered all of China, starting the Yuan dynasty. The Mongol conquest of China proved to be one of the more difficult of the Mongols' many conquests, lasting about 70 years from 1209 to 1279. And now here's a video on. Oh, we're not watching the video. Okay. In summary, the Song was a prosperous dynasty who at its height had a strong economy and a large, highly urbanized population, inhabiting some of the world's largest cities. Literature, education, commerce, music, and art all flourished at this time. The Song really had two parts to it, geographically speaking, the northern and southern Song. Their rivals were the Jin, who was conquered in 1234 by an alliance of the Song and the Mongols. Song China had relations with many of its neighbors, such as Japan, Vietnam, and Korea. The end.
Yes, and that is it for this week. Next week, we'll be exploring the Mongols in a bit more detail. Thank you for watching.